Hi, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. Today is Friday, March the 9th, and it's about 2:30 right now. I'm going to go ahead and do our chart lesson. Today's just been a really, there was some couple nice moves right at the open this morning, and then really from about, I'd say 9, right, a little after 9 o'clock, all the way up until almost 2 o'clock. Absolutely nothing's happened, and I just turned this thing off around 11 o'clock and gave up on it. It's Friday, so I'm going to finish this chart lesson real quick, and I'm going to call it a day, and I'm getting out of here early. It's um, all the storm and the rain and the tornadoes have blown on through, and we got a beautiful blue sky today, and so I'm going to get out of here early and start my weekend, and hopefully you've already done the same or are about to do the same. But there weren't a lot of entries today. Let me just go over them real quickly and show you what I saw, and we can kind of go from there. But I got the trend line off the first couple swings of the overnight, and originally I had it drawn like that. But a lot of times when you want to get your first couple of bars, you want to make sure it at least touches the first couple of bars. So when you draw it through like that, it kind of gives you this trend, and that was pretty much the trend line for the day. Um, this may end up um, holding prices right here. I don't know, but it's so late in the day and the volume's so low, there's just not much happening. But it's that's one thing I'll say real quickly before I go over these couple of trades and show you what I saw for the day. Anytime that you get uh, rollover, a lot of people will just, a lot of professional traders will just take those days off during rollover the first week or so, just because there's the volume gets screwed up. There's people unwinding out of the March contract or the current contract and rolling over into the next contract. Of course, with day traders, it doesn't affect us very much, but as day traders, we only make up a portion of the market, and a lot of the market is, especially the ones that really move the market, are mutual funds and commercial traders and things like that, and they're the ones that trade the really thousands of contracts and so forth. So when they start rolling over, it affects the market in strange ways, and it definitely screws up the volume and so forth. So, uh, and the volume is really split between two contracts almost sometimes. So, just something to keep in mind, and it's not a bad idea just to not trade during those days. As you can see today, nothing really happened for the majority of the day here. We had this nice move right here, and let me show you what I was looking at. Here's your first leg up that occurred in the overnight, and here's your second leg up, and you can see we didn't quite get there, close enough in my opinion, uh, for this to be a two-legged move, and you might really count that as the first leg because that's where prices started moving. And then if you move that over here, then you got almost a perfect measured leg. But anyway, regardless, you got the leg up, then you got your correction, and then you got your next leg up. And really the leg probably started right here. I'm not sure where I measured that from a minute ago. But let me show you this trade. This was the first bounce off this trend line coming up through here. And it's, even if you didn't have the trend line yet, you had this double bottom right here, really a triple bottom by the time this finished right here, these couple of bars. And then we broke lower and failed. And that's just a retest of this breakout area right along here. And it failed, and prices went higher. So this was your first entry, and it was right after the open. And generally, you'll see that happen a lot at the open. You'll get a fake out. The market will start one way and look like it's really going that direction, then it suddenly reverses. And then this was just a second entry long here on a bigger scale. And this was a little harder to see, but again, it doesn't matter. It's coming off this trend line right here. If you had your trend line drawn, that's close enough. And there's you another nice entry. And this one right here was a little bit iffy, but it was obvious the trend was starting back. We tested the trend line a couple of times. It was obvious the trend was starting back. There was enough room to scalp out, I believe, before you got back to this high, and definitely before you got to this overnight high, which is probably our target. And also, if you look here, it didn't really come into play, But if you measure this leg and then you measure this one, I was looking for prices to go at least to right here, which was testing these other highs up here. And you can see it broke higher and it kind of pulled back there. But that's where I was looking for prices to go, so that's why I took that trade. Plus, you know, prices never could close below the EMA. The trend was really up, has been up for the last couple of days. You can see down through there. So in that case, this was not a great setup, but it wasn't a bad setup. So if you took it, like I did, it was a great trade. And then that was it for me. I didn't take this trade up here. And I actually took a short right here, and I didn't mark that one because this one was very iffy as well. So that was the only 4 trades. I made most of my money on this move right here today. And both of these were good for a scalp, but no runners. But this was good for your runners, and I got 3 or 4 points out of my runners here. I think I got 3.5 points out of my runners. But that's why sometimes you try to go for runners. And I generally try to go for runners when the market's trending and it looks like the trend is coming off the trend line at these key entry points and so forth. So I actually kept runners off all 3 of these, and this was just a total scalp right here. All I did was scalp out of that trade. But once we got into this range, the only real setup up here, you could have gone short right here because this was a failed second entry long, and this would have worked to the downside. I didn't mark it because it's not a great setup. You know, it's obvious that we're in this trading range, all these overlapping bars. But this was a nice setup, and it was with a trend. And what you try to do when the trend's up, you're looking for reasons to enter with the trend. So anytime you got a strong support, that's a reason to enter with a trend. And this was only good for a scalp as well. And then we went right back into this same stuff. And you probably could have got short off any of these highs or any of these lows, and you could have scalped out and you would have made some money. And but the only one that was really a great setup was this one. If you're following our rules, there just really wasn't much room. By the time all these set up and you try to get long, there's not enough room to get out before. I mean, this is really only, you know, a little over a point and a half range right here, and it's just hard to make money in a 1.5 point range. So you got 4 really decent setups for today, 5 if you count this one, and you probably could count this one too because this is a failed second entry long, coming off a two-legged pull back to the EMA, and those rarely fail. So my guess is it probably trapped a lot of people, and it wouldn't surprise me if some of you told me you went long right there and got trapped. And because it looks like a good setup, and it's not a bad setup to the long side. And if I was still trading, I might have taken that trade myself. But once this failed, you definitely should be thinking, I'm getting out. When this ended as a doji, that's all I would have needed, and I would have got out on this bar when it ticked higher, guaranteed. That would have been it for me. And at the very least, I would have had my stop below this bar, and you would have lost a couple of ticks, and that would have been it. And you might have even thought about reversing, but by the time you're getting down here, it's too late to be reversing because there's not much room to scalp out below here. So, but just a thought in case you did get trapped on that. What you want to do is once this ends, if you entered right here, and once this end is a doji equal to these tops, that tells you that there's strong resistance here and that this is probably going to end up being a trading range, and this is definitely congestion. So try to get out at break even. If you entered right here, you could have got out there, and you might could have gotten out up here at this high. So take your break even trade or your 1 tick or whatever it will give you and just go ahead and get out of the trade, and or at least put your stop below this bar or below this bar, and don't give it much room, and then you don't get hurt, because that doji really tells you a story. And when you got a second doji, that definitely tells you a story. So that's telling you at least put your stop right here or try to get out when it comes back up here again at break even. And that's how I would handle that. And that's you need to learn to be able to do that. And you can see now we're just in congestion again. Of course, there's only 30 minutes left in the trading day, and it's well after 2:45 on a Friday, so that doesn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if we end in here. It wouldn't surprise me if we make another leg down like this one right here. but it's time for a retest, so you don't want to be looking for shorts. Even though we may come down here, you need, we just had this trend line, the first break, so odds are we're probably just going to end in here, but it wouldn't surprise me if before 3 o'clock comes that we're not coming back up here testing this high again, because that's what the rules tell us is likely to happen. So, but I'm going to wrap it up. It's Friday. I'm ready to get out of here. There's just not much to talk about. The trend was definitely up. But once we got to about a little after 9 o'clock this morning, there just wasn't anything happening. And by 10 o'clock, I'd had enough of it. And I went on to do some other work and got some other things done for the day. I'm trying to get my taxes done for this year and get them turned in, and that's taking up a bunch of my time. So, but anyway, I'm going to call it a day. Hope you had a good trading day today. And I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week, and maybe we'll get some movement next week. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.